The next Total War has been officially announced after definitely not being leaked by the confidential source, CA themselves. Again. So let's take a look at the trailer and the accompanying blog post and find out everything there is to know about Total War Pharaoh. Let's start with the trailer where we see a lovely glamour shot of Egypt before everything immediately goes to shit. Like, literally, the first 30 seconds of this 2-minute trailer showcase a dung beetle rolling a huge turd across a battlefield before getting shot by an arrow and launched onto the hand of who I would guess is Ramses, since he's kind of the box art guy and the first person to be mentioned in the playable factions on launch. Takes a quick look at it and the incoming army, and lets it fly off before charging into battle with his troops, and we get our final wide shot. Now, I'm not a historian, so I'm not going to be able to analyse this very well like I tried to do my best with Warhammer, but from what I can tell, we've got, you know, the classic historical mix. We've got swords and spears and regular frontlines troops, we've got archers and I'm sure a little bit other ranged troops, and then we've got cavalry chariots at the back. Pretty much exactly as it looks. The Lord himself is stood there by himself, so I don't know if it's going to be like Warhammer, where, you know, the Lords are, well, single Lords, or if it's going to be more of a traditional historical thing where it's a Lord with some bodyguards, but judging by what we see in the blog post, I'm leaning towards the second option there. Now, there's nothing mythical about this trailer, which is good news for, honestly, basically everyone. Now, I'm a big fantasy fan, as you may all know, but the truth behind the myth that they tried to do for Troy to please everyone was, let's just say it as it is, pretty terrible. It ended up pleasing no one, and the ending split, which we got, which was pure historical and then purely mythic, that was a much better split and made the game feel a lot more complete. If they're going to go the same way with this, or just keep it purely historical, we don't know. But either way, for history fans out there, you've got an actual historical game, so something to look forward to. And just before we move on to the blog, by far the best thing in this trailer is the music. It's very reminiscent of old classic movies set in Egypt, like The Mummy. I don't know how to describe it or what instrument it is, it's just got the very epic and whimsical feel. Just take a listen. Okay, moving on from the trailer onto the accompanying blog post, and there is a lot to unpack and talk about here. So first, a release date, we're talking October, so about 5 months wait. It's of course going to cover the Egyptian New Kingdom, where 3 cultures are going to be battling out over the death or end of the Bronze Age as it collapses around them. Those 3 cultures will be the 3 starting factions, and we have Egyptian, Canaanite, and Hittite, and among those we're going to have a choice of leaders. I'm sure we'll each have their own campaign goals and unique mechanics, similar to how they did in Troy, but as I said, we've done the mythic stuff. The game will be releasing on Steam and Epic, so no Epic exclusive. Thank God, Total War, that was not the play, but you did it once, so now you know. Don't do it again. We've got 3 editions on launch, ranging from £50 to a staggering £78, which is pretty bananas for Total War. There is a base edition, which is just the base game. There's a deluxe edition, which adds a DLC faction pack and the soundtrack, which I'm obviously excited for, probably be picking up the soundtrack myself. And finally, the Dynasty edition, which adds on 2 more faction pack DLCs, as well as a campaign DLC. Whether that means something like the OG Warhammer DLCs, where you would get a small side campaign alongside the main one, or if it'll be something like Mythos, which is essentially the same campaign, but with a load of mythical stuff added in, because, you know, ancient Egypt has pretty much as much mythology as ancient Greece. But we don't know anything about this, don't know if it's going to lean into that mythic stuff or stick to purely historical, only time will tell. Of course, picking up these more expensive editions apparently saves you money on the long run if all that content comes out and you buy it individually, but of course you have no idea what that content is, if it's going to be any good, and honestly if it's even going to come out. You know, they have axed 3 Kingdoms when they said there was more content to make, so if this doesn't live up to their expectations, will they axe it before all the content comes out? I would hope not, but there's no guarantees these days. It's pretty horrifying to think about, but that's life, I suppose. So yeah, I'd always advise caution before pre-ordering. Wait for the game to come out, wait for some reviews to roll in, and then make your decision on what edition you want based on that. That being said, anyone who does pre-order will receive a few bonuses in the form of early access, a weekend, an unnamed weekend. It might be the weekend right before release, or might be a weekend, you know, it might be next weekend for all we know. It just says a weekend. But alongside this, the most controversial thing by far is cosmetic DLC for the leaders and their bodyguards. So as I said earlier, it's probably going to be leaders and traditional bodyguards rather than just a leader, as it was shown in the trailer shots and has been in Troy and in Warhammer, of course. So cosmetic DLC is of course a controversial thing, has been since the horse armor debate, which is probably like 20 years ago at this point. But adding it to a Total War game is such a strange thing to do. Like, obviously we have the blood pack, and that is technically cosmetic DLC, but it's kind of, you know, it literally paints the entire game in blood, whereas this is cosmetic DLC for specific factions and specific lords and specific units within those factions. And it is just weird, especially in a historical game. Now, don't get me wrong, if they did something like this for Warhammer, and if they made a DLC that was just an army painter that let you take each of the units, and even if it was just a slider that changed what color they are, or you could like just pick all the colors of the different outfits, and so, you know, the checkered things that the Empire is on, they're red and white, or you can pick them to be green and purple or whatever you wanted, that would absolutely juice. And I know for sure that I would enjoy that, and pretty much everyone that plays Warhammer or has painted minis would enjoy that, because it's basically just a mini painter but in a game. But for a historical title, it's weird, man. For Ancient Egypt, historical title, that is a weird direction to go. Leave your thoughts about this in the comments, because I'm really curious to what everyone is thinking about this. Me personally, I don't think it's a excellent step for Total War to take. Cosmetic DLC it's controversial for like the most, because it is pointless. It's paying money for something that's pointless, but if it's pointless, why would you pay money for it? So it's one of those where like, I'm kind of on the fence about it, because, you know, I don't really care, because if I don't like it, I'm not going to buy it. But if you do like it, it's a way to support the game by buying something that doesn't necessarily give you any advantage, but it's something that you enjoy. It's like skins in Smite and League of Legends. Like, people spend loads of money on skins because they enjoy the game and want to support it, but those are free games. This is a paid game. It's kind of like the Dark Side situation where the cosmetic store on launch, but obviously this is just a pre-order bonus. For now, we don't know if anything else like this is going to come out. I, for one, hope that it doesn't. But again, we'll have to wait and see. As I said, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And that does wrap up just about everything we have. Yes, this is a very short video, but we only have a trailer and a very meager blog post that just goes over the very basics of the game. We don't really know any information as of yet. Historical stuff isn't really my jam, as I'm sure many of you probably know, but I do love me some Ancient Egypt. You know, I love me the Mummy. I love me, I can't think of anything else Ancient Egyptian, but the main reason I loved all those stuff was, you know, the fancy elements and the mythic stuff, you know, the gods and goddesses and deities and mummies and stuff. So will I enjoy this in a purely historical setting? We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see till I get my hands on the game. All we have now is a pre-rendered trailer. Anyone can make a trailer if they really wanted to, but not everyone can make a game that is a lot of fun and is played for years. So we'll have to wait and see. But that being said, any gameplay, any other news, anything else new about this will be covered right on the channel. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Don't forget to like the video, and if you're still hungry for more Total War news, then check out this video here on the roadmap of Warhammer 3.